So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Smita Mundal. I'm a Prime Minister Research Fellow working in Chemical Engineering Department of IIT Madras. So, am I audible to everyone? Can you please respond? Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Uh, okay, so let's start from some basic introduction of organic chemical technology. So moving forward, so the chemical plants, it has unit operations and unit processes. So these two terms may seem similar, but these are some. It refers to some different activities that happens in a chemical plant. So unit operation. So you can see that unit operation is that involves physical and mechanical changes, just like crushing, screening, washing, this kind of activity. Whereas chemical processes, it involves the chemical changes like some chemical reactions. Okay, so I will briefly discuss about first unit operations because it plays a very important role plays a very important role for overall chemical process because before introducing your chemical raw material to the reactor for the chemical reactions, you have to prepare the raw materials into certain specifications so that you can feed that raw material to the reactor. So it involves first the upstream processes. Upstream processes, you can say one like crushing. So it involves crushing. Secondly, it can have grinding. I will tell you what is the difference between coarse size crushing and grinding. Number three is washing. It plays a very important role for feeding raw material to the main reactor, and then kind of filtrations, and also drying, feed drying, and also agitation or mixing. So I will briefly discuss about these upstream processes through some examples in the later part. So now the downstream processes that happens after the reactions, after the chemical reactions, the product will be taken to the downstream process operations, and it involves such like distillation or fractionation. So it involves distillation, also some sort of evaporation, settling, centrifugation, this kind of thing. Okay. So the next part is I will the overall course of the organic chemical technology that involves basic that natural organic chemical. There are two types, natural organic chemical and another one is the synthetic organic chemical industries. You can differentiate between natural and synthetic based upon the process and the raw material types. So moving forward, the first one comes is oil and fat industries. So this oil and fat industries, this is oil and fat. This is nothing but triglyceride of the fatty acid. Okay. Now here I will be talking about the overview of the syllabus that I will be covering throughout the other sessions in future. So this organic chemical technology, the first part we will be covering, that is the oil and fat industry. Next is the soaps and detergent industry. That is some fatty acid. We convert the fatty acid through saponification reaction to soaps or detergents. Next is sugar and starch industry. So sugar is basically we get the sucrose. That is we get here the sucrose, that is C6. Sorry, that should be C12, H22, and O11, and that through some reactions and through some chemical operations, we have to convert it sucrose to glucose and fructose. So in detail, we will be talking about these kind of reactions and changes in the later part, considering the specific industry when we will be discussing about that. So, okay. Synthetic. So already we have covered sugar and starch industry. Like we will be talking and discussing about that industry in the later part. Next is the fermentation industry. We produce lot of alcohol and other stuffs that is very essential for other chemical production in the chemical industries. Next is the pulp and paper industry. It involves lot of chemical operations like crusher, grinder, and thickener, and those kind of things. It involves lot of chemical operations. We'll be focusing on this part in the later part. And petroleum industry, obviously, this is the core heart of the chemical technology. Petroleum industry and followed by petrochemical industry. Now, another one is the polymer industry. Polymer, we produce lot of polymers that we use in everyday life, like polyethylene, then epoxy resins, and those kind of things. Polymer industry plays a huge role in the chemical technology overall. And then rubber industry. So here we have discussed about natural organic chemical industries. It includes this sort of industries, whereas petrochemical industry and polymer industry basically comes under synthetic organic chemical industry. Moving forward, so now I will be discussing about overall what looks like a chemical manufacturing process. Now, before we know that we have to pre-process or pre-treatment, we have to do the pre-treatment of the raw material that we are taking from any agricultural field or any other source. So we cannot directly feed into our reactor because that may hamper the that may cause clogging, blocking, or other serious issues to our sensitive reactors. We cannot directly feed to the reactor. There are a lot of operations which include the pre-treatment operation of the raw material. So this is the overview of the chemical manufacturing process. Such like you can see, this is the stage one. That is where the raw material is stored. Now the raw material storage, it also you have to follow certain conditions like temperature pressure conditions. You have to keep in mind that in what condition, in wet or dry condition, you are storing the material. That based upon this, the next step will be decided. That your raw material, if it is, suppose if your raw material is wet raw material, then you have to first go through drying, because drying, then it will be uh, passed through conveyor belt, and there are several kind of conveyor belts are there, and that then it will be grinding or crushing, because we can it involves lot of other difficulties for wet grinding or wet crushing. So grinding or crushing, and then you will have some sort of product size, and then you will feed to the reactor. So before coming to this part, you have to go through lot of operations, and that involves our first, that is the upstream process. So upstream process, in the above flow diagram, or the total anatomy of the chemical manufacturing process, the upstream process involves stage 1 and stage 2. Okay, so here, wait a minute. So here this reaction, that is stage 3, this involves chemical reactions or chemical changes that happens in the reactor, chemical reactor. Now this product separation part, it also comes under downstream unit operation. So you can see, like when the raw material you have fed into the reactor, there will be some product, there will be product separation, and from that product, the main product maybe it goes to the purification part. Whereas you will be also collecting the byproduct, also collecting some waste, and there will be some part that you can recycle back. Recycling in the chemical plants is very important. To first, recycling is important because you want to reduce the operational cost, because if you have some like water or kind of thing that can be recycled, or some oversized product that can be recycled, so it will be recycled back just like unreacted material to the again to the feed preparation. It will be crushed, grind again, and then it will be fed to the reactor, so that we will have the maximum conversion, of the raw material. And later part, when it will be product storage, also temperature, pressure, and other humidity, other kind of thing you have to take care of, so the product can be stored in an intact condition, and it remains intact since it is going for the sales. So the next part is I will be discussing about some unit processes, that is that is the chemical reactions. So as of now, is there any question that you have that I can discuss? If you have any question. So okay, we can move forward. Yeah. So this part is very important and involves lot of chemical engineering and lot of chemical engineering knowledge. Okay. It is not possible to cover up all the chemical reactions that involves in every kind of every possible kind of chemical plants, but I'll be discussing some of the examples so that you can have that idea that what kind of chemical reactions usually occurring in a chemical reactor that I am focusing on as a part of unit processes, which is very different from the unit operations. So unit operations is basically mechanical operation. You have some, you will get physical changes of your raw material. But whereas unit processes, which occurs in a chemical reactor, that chemical reactions occur and you will get some converted product or some chemical reactions occur and you will get multiple products from that. So, what are the chemical reactions that can happen? One, suppose this is very basic, that is the combustion. So, combustion reaction, suppose you have natural gas, that is methane. You are obviously you will be supplying, obviously you will be supplying oxygen for the combustion, and you will be getting CO2 that will escape as a gas and H2. So this part is important because you will get CO2, you will capture CO2 and you will convert CO2 to other chemicals. So it involves other lot of chemical reactions after this reaction. So uh, this is an important reaction. Combustion occurs in many examples you have, um, and there are many processes that involves post combustion CO2 capture, and it is a very interesting topic for the research nowadays. There are a lot of new ideas and new processes that involve CO2 capture. That also involves lot of chemical reactions, new kind of things. So everything is not possible to cover up in this session. If it comes in the later part of the discussion, I'll be focusing on that. Next is, suppose next is the calcination. Now this reaction is mainly takes place in the cement industries. So there we get CaCO3, that is limestone, and we provide heat, and it gives lime plus CO2. Yeah. So we were discussing about chemical reactions. That one of the examples we have discussed, combustion and cancellation. So this calcination reaction, that is very important for cement industries. Third example, I can have uh, alkylation reaction. So alkylation reaction, that generally we are adding um, alkyl group. We are adding alkyl group What is that alkyl group? That is, suppose CH3 alkyl group that we are adding with the side chain of the existing chemical structure. If I am giving some example, that is like you consider this component. What is that? This is one butylene, because there is double bond. One butylene plus isobutane, and see, some of the chemical reactions that doesn't occur or doesn't occur simply. We have to add some catalyst, or we have to provide heat, because some of the reactions are exothermic, some of the reactions are endothermic. So based upon, there are various parameters or various factors that ultimately decides that what will be your ultimate product of out of your raw material. So you have to always take care of the parameters or operational other parameters that you want to give or provide to the chemical reactor. For this case, you have to give catalyst, and also you have to heat. Then it will form this kind of structure. And what is that? This is isooctane. So this is alkylation reaction. This kind of reaction add extra alkyl group as a side chain. I'll be discussing one more important reaction, that is a disproportionation reaction. This reaction, you can see, this is a redox reaction. There is simultaneous um, occurring of oxidation and reduction reactions. Suppose this is, we'll be dealing with CH2, CH3. This is propylene. Okay. So from this, by this disproportionate reaction, we'll be getting propylene plus butane. Balancing equilibrium. Okay. So these are some main reactions that I focused on as of now. I'll be discussing uh, particular reactions in the particular processes that will be coming under different category of industries that I have already discussed. That what are the industries I am going to cover in the next sessions, in the next coming sessions. So moving forward, now I'll be discussing about some upstream unit operation. Upstream, that means that before feeding to the reactor, before feeding to the chemical reactor, Before feeding to the chemical reactor, there will be some pre-treatment operations. Okay, so in the main lectures of NPTEL, it was covered that other petroleum, petrochemical, and this kind of thing, it will be covered as a syllabus of this overall organic chemical technology. But as an example, and I will like to focus on the coal preparation process because it also coal, you know that it also involves organic and inorganic matters. And as a whole, there are a lot of chemical operations involved in the coal processing. Suppose, because we know coal is very important for producing electricity, it is the heart of the whole chemical plant that we generally get electricity and heat by combustion of coal. So, coal preparation is not that much easy process. It involves lot of steps before feeding to the combustion or combustor. So, okay. Now it is run of mine. We collect coal from the mines and it is a mixture. You cannot directly feed to the reactor. It is the conveyor belt. Okay, there are various types of conveyor belt. Generally, it involves belt conveyor. Some of the time it involves a screw conveyor or belt conveyor, and it is fed to the first. It goes to the coarse crusher and then finer crusher. Sometimes, based on the requirement, it goes for the finer grinding. It goes for the finer grinding. Now you can see there are some sort of sections: sizing, separation, washing, and also dewatering part. So after final crusher, the product size is reduced from the feed size. At what extent it will be reduced, I will be discussing in the later part. So sizing involves that solid separation, which so this sizing is nothing but we are separating solid from solid separation. We are going for the uh, coarser size, middle section, and also smaller or finer section. There are some screens, and it has certain size of the screen, mesh size. Generally, we call it size of the screen. We call it mesh size. Mesh size. So there are coarser size means comparatively larger size, and it will um, pass only that size will be passed at the from the through the screen, and the bottom product of the screen will be taken to the second screen that has different size, so it will be decreasing size of the screen. It will be arranged in such a way that it separate or classifies based on the size of the feed material. Okay. So in the middle section, it will be the screen will be placed as a uh, some intermediate screen size. This is called desliming screen. Okay, and some it the passing product from this through this screen that contains some finer size of the product, finer size product. It goes for the classifying cyclone. In the cyclone, there are centrifuging force that that makes classification of the product based on the size. So the finer size will be collected and it will be sent to the spiral. Spiral comes under washing because at some point there will be addition of the water, and this goes for the washing where water is added and there will be washed of the small or the finer size product, and the most smallest fine size, very fine size, that will be connected through again classifying cyclone. Series of operation it involves. So sizing involves basically solid to solid separation. Based on the size of the feed material, the your you will get different sections of different size range of the product. Next is the washing. Washing involves dense medium vessel, dense medium cyclone, spiral, and also froth flotation. This froth flotation and thickener. Dewatering sections involves the drain and rinse screen, centrifugal dryer, seed bend, and the disc filter. You can see by whole of these operations, that is the pre-treatment of the coal, you will get washed coal, coarse size coal that is considered as refusing, and fine size coal that is the slurry, that is that may be required for some processes or it can be sent to the feed again. There will be recycling or it can be simply dumped based upon our requirement. All the process are decided based upon that, based upon our requirement. Now the most important thing that you have to remember that depending upon the specific raw material that you are dealing with coal or any other ore like iron ore or any other kind of minerals you are dealing with, the equipment involved in the process that will change. You cannot use for the biomass, if you are dealing with the biomass, you cannot use all kind of the similar kind of setup or similar kind of equipments for that raw material. So depending upon the raw material, the equipments involved in the chemical process operation that will change. Is there any question as of now? Today, our session will be focusing on some brief introduction on the chemical process technology, the detail of each and every industry I'll be discussing in the future live sessions for this that covers the organic chemical technology. I've already discussed about the syllabus in the few of the first slide. So, okay, we can go forward with the slide now. Okay, so I would like to discuss about the size reduction equipment. Why there are different types of reduction equipment? Because we categorize as coarse crusher or fine grinding for different purpose of if you are if your requirement is different size sections or different size range of your raw material, so you have to use accordingly. Just if you are having raw feet like feet and very larger in size, okay, suppose your feet size here, uh, 1000 millimeter. Okay, I forgot to tell, this is the jaw crusher that comes under coarser size crusher, and next is the gyratory crusher. So first I'll be discussing about the jaw crusher. Yeah. This is the jaw crusher, and the feet size is, I discussed about feet size is minus 1000 mm. That is the 1000 mm. If you have 1000 mm screen, the passing size of the screen is minus 1000 mm. Generally, we report like that, minus 1000 mm. Now, the product size, you can see the raw feed size is much bigger, and after crushing, the product size get reduced, and up to product size is it can have 150 mm to 100 mm to 150 mm. The size can be reduced by the jaw crusher. So jaw crusher, one important aspect of this has very high production rate. We use for the coal crusher, for the coal crushing, we use the jaw crusher. And about this structure of the jaw crusher, there is so this part. Okay, I will use some different color. So this section is called gap, from where the feed is being introduced to the jaw crusher, and this is fixed jaw. Some in some jaw crusher there is something uh, corroded plate like teeth kind of thing that generally that is present, but some of the jaw crusher it is still lined some plain type of surface. So these are and this product section, this is called set, from where you will get minus 100 to 150 size of product. So there is continuous movement like this way, and if it moves like this, there will be fixed size of the product you will get. So this is Corsair crusher. There is movement of this, only this section, there is fixed jaw. It will move like this way. And in between, the product, the raw material will be crushed, size will be reduced, and it will pass through the set. Next type is the gyratory crusher. This kind of detailed discussion on the size reduction equipment that comes under another subject, that is mechanical operation from chemical engineering course. There is separate subject, but on the context of this process chemical technology, as it this kind of equipments involved in the overall process flow sheet, so it is required to have basic knowledge about how it works and why we are using different kind of size reduction equipment. So gyratory crusher, this is one of other coarse size crusher. So here we can see this is the gap and the set is this section. This is the set. So there will be a motion of single circular motion like this way. You can see the arrow sign, single circular motion, and by this there will be crushing of the feed that is larger in size, and it crushed down. You can see how much it has been reduced the size by this crushing movement, and you are getting finer size than your actual raw material. So this kind of operations, this kind of coarser size crusher is being used, and it also gives high production rate. High production rate compared to the jaw crusher. Um, Compared to jaw crusher. Next, I will be discussing about fine grinding. Fine grinding, and this equipment you are seeing, this is the nothing but ball mill. So there will be milling operation. This bit inside these green colored balls, these are the grinding media. And how it plays into role, plays the role for crushing or grinding, that I will discuss. So now you can see that your feed is being introduced in this part. Your feed is introduced in this part. There is some opening. Feed introduced, and let it rotate like this. After certain time, the product, your desired product, will be collected at the bottom, and there will be creation of lot of dust, and that will be collected from the top. When it is in the rotating motion, So suppose this is the rotation direction of the mill. So now we are discussing about the operation of ball mill for the fine grinding operation. So rotating direction of the mill is in this way, whereas the balls are grinding medium. And you can see these are very fine grinding is occurring. So ultimately, if there is that is the cross section, so the balls are going in this way, circular path, and then it goes to the parabolic path. And it ultimately it creates lot of fine grinding. Okay. Next, sizing equipment. We already discussed what is sizing. This is the solid-solid separation based upon size, density, mainly two, size, density, solid-solid separation. This equipment is called jig, and it is widely used for the coal operations, coal pre-treatment operation. So for the jigging, so there will be perforated jig screen in this section. Suppose this is chamber 1 and chamber 2. So there will be perforated screen. And in this direction, the piston will go up and down and it creates the jigging action. In the bottom section, bottom chamber, you will have water and feed is introduced from the top onto the screen, onto the jigging screen. After certain cycles of the jigging, um, there will be a pulse and there will be pulses, suctions. So when the feed is being introduced, it has different sizes and different densities of the particle. So based upon that, there will be separation, solid separation. The coarser size, next we can see from this. So the first one, I am describing about the process of jigging. So first one is called um, it at rest. At rest condition, you can see there are heavier, larger particle, larger size, lighter particle, also smaller size, heavier particle, and this kind of all the combinations are there in the raw feed that you are introducing to the jig. At the first, there will be all the particles will be at rest condition onto the screen, and when you will be giving the stroke, you will be placing the piston in a downward direction, and it will create a pressure of water, and it will go and it will help and push the particle onto the screen, above the screen. And this initial condition is called pulsation. Depending upon the settling velocity of different kind of particles, the settling velocity will differ depending on the size and density. So the next step is hindered settling. Hindered settling, when it will the heavier and coarser size particle will be settled faster onto the screen. Gradually, it followed by uh, larger size, lighter particle, and the next stage is consolidated trickling. But in the same conditions, you can see this fine size, heavier particles. It will trickle down and it pass through the screen. So ultimately, your downstream product that will be collected at the bottom, that will be uh, contaminated. So the tailing will be some sort of lighter size particles, uh, lighter and finer particles you will be getting from tailing overflow. So the jigging operation is mostly used in the mineral ore processing, including coal processing, widely used as a sizing equipment. Next one is hydrocyclone. So next one is hydrocyclone. So how it works? So the feed is being introduced in this direction, and there will be vortex finder. You have to introduce the feed below the vortex finder, otherwise there will be short circuit, or there will be easy escape of the feed, just like that way it will not come downward direction. So there will be vortex, and due to that, it is also a classifying sorry it is also a classifying equipment. Classifies, and here based upon the centrifugal force. Feed is introduced here, and it goes down. It goes down this way. The larger size particle will be collected from the bottom, whereas the fine size particle will just go in the opposite direction from the spigot. Opposite direction in sorry, it goes upward direction, and it passes through vortex finder, and you will be getting overflow, and this is from the spigot you will be getting underflow. Okay, so this classifying range of this is around 5 to 500 micrometer. When already crushing, grinding, this kind of operation has been done, and it is introduced for the separation of product into certain size range. So you are introducing to the classifying equipment like hydrocyclone, and you will be getting the coarser size particle from the bottom, from the spigot section, and from the vortex finder you will be getting overflow, and this is the finer particles, and this will be the coarser particles. And such way, as such way, you are separating or classifying the raw materials into different size sections. Now, when this this kind of vortex that is larger in size, this is called primary vortex. And when the finer particles come um, at this position, the finer particles goes up. That is the secondary vortex. Smaller radius, you can say. Okay. So moving forward, uh, I'll be discussing some main washing equipment, because I am picking up the equipments that has been discussed more or less in the um, in this slide, in this process um flow sheet based upon the coal preparation. But depending on the requirement of the raw material preparation, it can be, these kind of equipments can also be used for other kind of raw materials or minerals or ores. So is there any question?
No, no questions.
Yeah, okay. So now moving forward with the washing equipments, this is the froth flotation. This is widely used for the coal preparation. And how does it work? Depending on the this froth flotation, depending on the hydrophobic or hydrophilic interactions. So you are suppose you are feeding the coal. The coal is being fed, and from here there will be agitator, continuous rotating of the mixing should be there, and from this agitator there will be gas there will be gas supply to the chamber. There will be coal and gas interaction. Okay, so based upon that, you must have to add other chemical reagents, suppose collector, depressants, activators. Have to add something to maintain the pH of the slurry. So after all, what happens when the coal particle, suppose this is coal and it has hydrophobic surface, or if the coal particle is not up to that much of hydrophobic in nature, then you have to do certain chemical treatment of the coal so that there, or you have to add certain chemical reagent into the slurry so that the surface becomes hydrophobic, and then it added to the gas bubbles. When it adds to the gas bubble, it goes off and collected as a froth. So this is froth we will be collecting, and we will be drying the froth to have the finer size uh, coal particles. So washed, that is nothing but the washed product. So this is the washing equipment. Next one is dense medium separator. Dense medium separator, here you have to give input to the high gravity medium, that is high specific gravity. High specific gravity medium, you have to give input. Feed is being introduced, suppose coal feed you are introducing, and based upon that difference in the specific gravity, the coal feed is being separated into specific gravity or density. The coal feed is being separated into different sections, sections. Those are called middlings, sink, and float. One is the high gravity compartment is there and low gravity compartment is there. So based upon the difference in the density, there will be separation of coal. This comes under washing equipment. Okay. Now we already discussed about various chemical operations, including mechanical operations, and we have seen how the size crusher uh, does work, and how the washing and those kind of operations has been done. Next part is chemical reactions or product. As we are discussing with the coal, so I'll be discussing the coal that we already from the previous slide you already seen that coal is um, pre-treated and then it is sent to the reactor. So this reactor can have different purposes. If you are going for the coal gasification, if you are going for coal carbonization, if you are going for coal liquefaction, it will give different different products based on the selection of reactions. If you are simply, suppose I am not going for the coal gasification, I am going for the coal pyrolysis. Some other sort of chemical reactions where In absence of oxygen, this reaction occurs. You will be getting different product by coal pyrolysis and different product by coal gasification. So the selection of the chemical reaction is very important to choose at first place so that you will be ending up with your desired product. So the coal gasification, you are getting what kind of product? Syngas. It is a very uh, interesting topic of research nowadays. Very interesting topic of research. There are a lot of researches are going on coal gasification, production of syngas, and also this syngas can be produced by um, other uh, raw materials like biomass and all. So what is syngas? Syngas is the mixture of carbon monoxide and hydrogen. You will be getting methanol. Methanol is we used just like alcohol. We use methanol in various industries, not only in a direct sense, but also it involves in very subsequent chemical reactions and produce different kind of products. Olefins, highly used in the polymer industries. Acetic acid, it also used polymer industries. Formaldehyde, it used in the resin and adhesive formation. Ammonia, you know ammonia is a very important chemical for fertilizer industries. Ammonia, you produce urea out of it, and it is a very important fertilizer. Next, if you go for the coal carbonization, then you will end up with coal tar. Coal tar, aromatic hydrocarbons, phenols, and other heterocyclic compounds. So, this coal tar, out of the coal tar, we can produce dyes, pigments, some other uh, pharmaceutical products, explosives, perfumes, etc. This aromatic hydrocarbon we get benzene, toluene, naphthalene, and other heterocyclic compounds. For the section of coal liquefaction, we produce the liquid hydrocarbons that can be further used as a, you can say that we get the petroleum and we do the distillation of the petroleum to get different petroleum product. Just like that, the coal undergoes liquefaction reaction. It can be direct liquefaction where it involves a thermochemical process that involves high pressure and high temperature condition. High pressure and high temperature conditions, coal a direct liquefaction, and you will be getting liquid hydrocarbons. it will be getting liquid hydrocarbons. For the indirect liquefaction, that is catalytic reaction, it involves Fischer-Tropsch reaction of same gas. So Fischer-Tropsch reaction, this is also a chemical reaction that is very important for converting solid fuel coal to the liquid fuel. How it converts, like I want to discuss. So the Fischer-Tropsch reaction, it is like a series of chemical reactions that produce a variety of hydrocarbons. Hydrogen and n number of carbon monoxide. This is basically a syngas mixture. It undergoes Fischer-Tropsch reaction and it produced different set of liquid hydrocarbons. Depending upon the you change the N and you will be getting different product. Okay. So in this whole gasification, chemical reactions that involves coal gasification, it converts the syngas at a very high temperature, like more than 700, via controlled supply of oxygen with or without steam. It means combustion doesn't occur. There is a controlled supply of oxygen, and if you are going for the combustion, you will be ending up with different product. But if you are going for the controlled supply of oxygen, either oxygen or steam, you will be ending up different products. So every parameter is very important, plays a different role in the chemical reaction. Suppose this is a gasifier of the coal. Now you are feeding the coal here, and there will be pyrolysis section where there will be absence of oxygen. Absence of oxygen. So here some reactions will be occurring. You will be converting the coal in absence of oxygen. You will be converting it when you will be injecting the steam. It will produce methane and other syngas. In the gasification section, there will be presence of catalyst, and in the presence of catalyst, the gasification occur. And at the bottom, when the oxygen is being supplied as a full-fledged, like there is over excess presence of oxygen, then there will be full combustion. But when there will be controlled supply of oxygen, there will be gasification. So there are different. These reactions are named as a different chemical reactions because of the amount of oxygen you are giving input to the reactor, and the product obviously that will be different in each of the reaction. And at the bottom, you will be collecting ash. Ash as a combustion section, you will be producing ash. So this state of reaction occurs in the coal gasifier. You can see there is not a single reaction occurring because you are getting syngas, tar and methane. So there are whole lot of chemical reactions are involved in the gasifier, this coal gasification process. The input material is coal, oxygen and steam. Gasification with oxygen, carbon, in the presence of oxygen it forms carbon monoxide. Combustion when it forms CO2, gasification when it forms Carbon monoxide. Gasification, when it goes with the steam, then it forms syngas mixture. It forms the syngas mixture. Gasification with hydrogen, carbon is reacted with hydrogen and it forms methane. In the reactor only, if it goes follows the water gas shift reaction, then this carbon monoxide can be converted to carbon dioxide. And this carbon monoxide, in the presence of this hydrogen, it follows the reaction of methanation and it produces methane. So, as an ultimate product, you will be getting syngas, tar, and methane. Suppose this is your reactor and all the chemical reactions that is happening inside the reactor, you are getting the product as a mixture. See, this is the mixture of product you are getting out of your chemical reactor. Now, you cannot just simply use this. You use this mixture. It has no such importance, or it doesn't give any valuable product. So it must go separation unit, where the gaseous product will be removed. Tar, tar product will be just like heavier product. Some sort of liquid tar will be there, and methane will be separated from syngas. So there will be separate product. For the downstream unit operation, you will get separate products. Okay. See, your your input is might be natural gas or petroleum oil or suppose coal or biomass. Different kind of raw materials. These are all raw materials category. It goes steam reforming, either partial oxidation or gasification. You produce synthesis gas, that is syngas, carbon monoxide plus hydrogen mixture. And later on, it again go follow the reaction of water gas shift reaction. It produce only hydrogen. If you are going through following the process of Fischer-Tropsch reaction, it produce the a whole lot of liquid hydrocarbons, that is the synthetic fluid. If you are using this syngas mixture for methanol synthesis, you will have dimethyl ether. So this kind of reactions occurs based upon your feed input and your reaction parameters. So next is the downstream unit process. Is there any question up to this section?
No questions.
Okay. So next is the downstream unit operation. So this coal is being fed. This goes up to from upstream operation coal, and then slurry is being prepared in the presence of catalyst. The slurry is being fed to the liquefaction reactor, and the liquefaction from the liquefaction, the oil slurry is it goes the separator section. Now this separator is a cyclone separator. So cyclone separator here, the fluid and gas is being separated. You are collecting the residue from the bottom of the separator. You are adding externally the water, the wastewater recycled. some sort of fine crushed coal, and again you are gasifying it, making the hydrogen out of it, and hydrogen is being carried forward again, and it is fed to the liquefaction reactor. The gases produced from here, it goes for the hydrogen recovery, hydrotreating unit, and later part it goes the distillation. So this liquid is hydrocarbon liquids, and it goes the distillation or fractionation. You'll be getting different variety of products. From top of the distillation unit, due to the difference in the density, you will be getting gaseous fuel as well. And this uh, from this unit of separation or washing or separation, the wastewater either it can be collected in the wastewater treatment plant or it has been recycled. After treatment of this wastewater, it can be recycled to air. So this is the complete some chemical process involves in the downstream operation that I have focused on. That what is the function of this separator that separates the fluid and gas, this liquid and gas, and in the distillation there will be fractionation of the liquid hydrocarbon so that I will get different category and different separate product out of that mixture, out of that hydrocarbon liquid. Now, till now, we have discussed about various chemical operations and chemical processes, chemical reactions. Now, uh, we need to know that what are the things we need to take care before designing a chemical plant. It involves process design and mechanical design. So, process design is a process design.
One doubt before
Yeah.
proceeding. Can you please go? Okay. So, generally in petroleum industry, the downstream and upstream, the definition is different. Like upstream means it's kind of exploration,
Yeah.
and till it reaches, I can say, is a refinery. Okay. And
Yes.
then downstream starts with the refinery thing. Okay.
Distillations and all.
Distillation and then pipeline transport and all those things. When with the finished product transport, all those things comes under upstream. Sorry, downstream
Yes.
process. Okay.
Yes.
So whenever you are using that, when sometimes back when you are discussing about the coal pulverizer or those things, no? You are meaning that it's a upstream industry. Okay.
Upstream, I meant specifically that before reactor, whatever pre-treatment we are doing, that can be categorized as upstream unit operations. Like because it is happening before introduction to the reactor.
Okay.
So
Okay. With,
for depending, suppose you are talking about petroleum crude oil.
hmm,
So for that, first you have to go for the drilling, and
hmm,
you will be using some different and specific kind of equipment there. So that,
hmm,
as I am discussing, as an example taking as coal. So it
hmm.
I already discussed that depending on the raw material, our equipment involved in the chemical process will differ.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so when you will be exploring that crude oil, the drilling
Hmm.
and other equipments will be different for petroleum industry.
Hmm.
And for
Hmm.
that case, explore like when you will be getting that crude oil from the mother earth, then the equipment involved will be categorized as upstream process unit operation. Okay.
Okay.
And you will be feeding that petroleum crude oil to the distillation unit because you want to fractionate your crude oil, that is a mixture of hydrocarbons. You want to
Hmm.
fraction it into different sections, so you will be introducing that petroleum crude oil to the distillation unit. So
Hmm.
distillation unit plays as a role of chemical unit process, that there are different sort of chemical reactions occur, or you can also make the different products out of that, and that also goes to the subsequent chemical reactors. Like you want to do the hydrogenation of some stream, depending on the required product, you will be choosing different reactions, and
Hmm.
then you will be going for the separation of that reaction from suppose for that case it will be like gas separation, liquid gas separation. So that will comes under downstream process in that part, including distillation.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah. So I was discussing about overview of the chemical plant design. First, it involves process design and mechanical design. Process design, that means that what are the raw materials you will be using, how it should be conveyed to the reactor, how this kind of thing, like the whole process that I already discussed in a coal preparation plant. Um, those process design is separate, and mechanical design, like if there is any equipment you want to modify with in respect of the chemical process, then there will be different kind of mechanical designs. Generally focusing on the process design, it involves a process description. By simplified, we generally very convenient way, we do the block diagrams. Block diagrams that involves like you are introducing the feed, and by blocks you, I will be giving the example in the next slide. So by block diagram, this is a very simplest way to discuss or describe a process, chemical process. And another one is the engineering flow sheet. Engineering flow sheet, it gives um, engineering flow sheet, it gives overall discussion of the process, like what are the raw materials you are giving input to the reactor, and other thing. Also there will be symbolic representation of the reactor, like if you are using packed weight, there will be different kind of reactor symbol. You are in the process you are using the heat exchanger, there will be symbolic way. There will be no block diagram. We are not putting any rectangular boxes to describe the process. We will be using the symbol that are defined, predefined for the chemical processes. Okay, I will be giving one example for that. So, for the description of the process in the process engineering flow sheet, that gives the synthesis details and important operation parameter like temperature, pressure, you are giving heat or not, in the presence of heat or not, and then other supporting details like what kind of pumps you are using, where it should be placed, and the heat exchanger, why it is required, and how many heat exchanger it should involve, in a whole chemical process in that particular process. And the transportation means it is very important depending on upon the material you are transporting. Like you will be if you are dealing with the screw conveyor, then you can go for the sticky material and wet material as well for the transportation. If you are going for the belt conveyor, then you will be have very high throughput. You can transfer tons of material very smoothly, very high throughput, and generally it is used in the um, old processing plants. And what are the raw materials and products you are dealing with? Based upon that, the transportation means will be keep on changing. Other complex information that can be included in the plant design, the flow sheet, that is material balance and energy balance. So material balance and energy balance, generally that is some detailed version of engineering flow sheet. basic engineering flow sheet that only has give you like overall view, like symbolic representation of the each chemical reactor and the heat exchanger pumps and this kind of thing. But when we will be doing like how much throughput, like how much tons per day you are putting the material, how much wastewater you are generating out of your chemical plant, how much product ultimately you are getting. This all material balance when you are showing in the engineering flow sheet, then there will be more complexity in the overall engineering flow sheet. Also including the energy balance. It will be more complex and that will be detailed engineering flow sheet. So one thing that you have to keep in mind that in every chemical plant design, whether you have to put this pressure valve or you have to put this heat exchanger or not, this kind of decision you should take very precisely, because the overall safety is very important, because you are dealing with chemical reactions and yeah, tons of materials in a day. So there might be any accident or mismatch of any operation that can hamper the safety of the overall chemical plant. So each and every step, each and every equipment you have to choose very wisely, so that there will be no obviously there is very much complexity in the chemical reactor itself, because what is happening inside the reactor, that you have to regulate or control from outside, from the control panel. So the overall safety we have to keep in the topmost priority. I want to discuss this very important, that block diagram, how it is represented, and the engineering flow sheet, how it is represented, and how it is different. Like you can see that this block diagram we are representing only in the rectangular box. Like suppose I am my overall target is to produce the biodiesel. Okay, so you are describing this whole process to someone else by easiest and simplest way. So you are doing that rectangle. You are drawing some rectangular boxes to show the main units that your raw feed material will pass through. The oil and fat, this is the your feed. It undergoes the pre-treatment. So this pre-treatment and the equipment involved in this pre-treatment is very different. Obviously, it will be very different from the pre-treatment we already discussed for the coal. Okay, because the type of the feed is different. Different such hardness, obviously it is liquid and it is not as hard as coal that comes under mineral and ore. So there is different in the hardness, density, texture and other thing. So depending on that, your pre-treatment process will be different, and the equipments involved in the process will be different. Okay, so coming to the point, your oil and fat, your feed material will undergo the pre-treatment process. So here we are not representing any kind of equipment symbol to show what are the pre-treatment processes it has gone through. We are simply representing in a rectangular box that this pre-treatment, it undergoes the pre-treatment. It needs the pre-treatment before putting in the main reactor. So now there is no symbolic way of any reactor. It has only mentioned the chemical process, that is the trans-esterification process of the oil and fat, where the other reactant that has been fed to the reactor, that is methanol. So by this reaction of trans-esterification, we are getting some different product mixture and it undergoes the phase separation. By the phase separation, the overflow or the overflow product will go for purification, that the lighter product will go for purification and it produce the biodiesel. So this purification, phase separation, this goes under downstream processes, downstream unit operation. Whereas this phase separation, suppose the lighter phase is being separated and it is purified and we are collected as a product. And the heavier phase, it undergoes distillation or fractionation. So in the fractionation, it follows the fractionation unit, and from there it follows the glycerol purification, and refined glycerol is produced. Whereas the other part is methanol. Methanol, we are getting methanol as well. So for this, as a process economy, we will be recycle back the methanol to the trans-esterification unit because it needs methanol supply. So if there is a closed cycle, then there will be less waste of chemicals. We don't have to borrow from outside, and we can produce methanol from one of the unit, and we can recycle back to the main reactor. So this is the simplest way to describe a process. When it comes to a very professional engineering flowsheet, then it involves certain chemical symbols, like predefined symbols. Like this is the vegetable oil, this is the feed here. These two cases are separate. This is vegetable oil, feed is here, and this is a packed bed reactor. Now the packed bed reactor, and also we are this is also a reactant for this case. Hydrogen is being fed to the reactor, and the bottom product of the reactor we are getting, there is a separator. Separator from here, the gaseous product will be separators. It is fluid and gas separator. Fluid gas separator. The gaseous product is collected from top of the reactor. It goes acid gas scrubber, because from the top of the reactor, suppose you are getting CO2 plus hydrogen mixture from this unit of separator. So you require that hydrogen for this reactor. So you will be separating this, again a scrubber or gas separator. Scrubber is not like uh, I should not tell gas separator. Where acid gas scrubber, you are using some solvent out of that, and you are separating the CO2 and hydrogen. Hydrogen is being recycled back to the reactor. Whereas this hydrocarbon, this kind of liquid product from the separator, it goes to the distillation unit. You can see these are not only the rectangular boxes. This is not a block diagram. You are using different chemical symbols, chemical equipment symbol to describe the overall process. Okay. Can you please mute yourself? Yeah, thank you. So you can see this block diagram is very much simpler form. Whereas in the to make a engineering flow sheet, you need to know what are the symbols involved that is predefined for the chemical industry. This is a packed pit reactor. This is a separator. This is a distillation unit. So in the distillation unit, when the fractionation of the liquid product, you will end up with propane or lighter hydrocarbon, naphtha, and green diesel. This is heavier. So you are generating, maybe your interest product is diesel production. So you have to go for the distillation unit to make the it uh, different from this mixture. Okay, so
This,
hello.
are you sharing your screen or that just both you are not shared your screen? No, like we have not seen any black diagram or this thing.
Sorry, you couldn't say.
No, that whether you are sharing anything, any diagram, anything, or
Uh,
like what
can
I'm
you
asking that screen sharing option is there. So if you want to show us some diagram or some block diagram or something, no, you can share your screen. Then only we can view that. Right now the camera is facing you only. Okay, you please proceed.
yeah, can you see now?
Yeah, now it's
So before
it's
it was
okay.
before it was not visible.
So now only it's visible. Screen is visible.
So this is only for the rectangular boxes that represent the block diagram. That is very usual way to describe casually for overall chemical process. And whereas this fluid gas separator and this kind of symbolic chemical symbols we generally use, this is the engineering flow sheet that involves the specific chemicals equipment symbols. So in the later part, this process flow diagram that involves that overall material balance. So I wish to show you that how the uh, material balance is being showed in the detailed engineering flow sheet. So this is the overall process is we want to produce the ethanol from the rice straw. Okay, so our feed input is 200 tons per day. It goes through magnetic separator and it undergoes the milling operation. There will be separation based on the size, vibrating screen. Fresh water input is 570 tons per day. So each and every input is defined, like how what is the tons per day, what is the material input is being done, is being used in the overall chemical plant. So this is the so obviously this is the rice water, rice straw, and there will be washing of as a part of pre-treatment. External water is being fed as 1,840 tons per day, in which this alkali treatment is being done. That is also mentioned how much alkali you are putting into the reactor for solidifying the rice straw with this alkali mixture. And based upon when you want to do the solid separation, the filter cake and this, how much throughput you are getting from the filter cake, the filtrate it goes to wastewater treatment plant, and that wastewater treatment plant and this wastewater can be treated there and again can be used in the overall chemical process. So you can see that in each of the equipment, more or less, they have used mentioned separately that what is the material balance. If you are inject like as a buffer water, suppose this is the solidifying tank. In this stage, you are adding 1040 tons per day this water. And uh, so each and every material balance is being specifically mentioned when in a detailed way for the overall material balance in the process flow diagram. So in each stage, they have mentioned how much is it tons per day. They have adding some external reactant or externally suppose buffer water, and whatever you are getting as a top stream product like overflow product and underflow product, they have separately mentioned the material balance through the material balance. And at the end of the whole lot of chemical process, and you are getting 61.5 tons per day, 99% pure ethanol. This all I want to show from this overall process flow sheet that the feed input that represent tons per day and some product input, you are getting different tons per day. So you should not only believe, you should not only focus that what is the feed input quantity and product input quantity. That might not give you the clear vision that how what are the other reactant and what is the whole lot of thing is happening inside the chemical process. Okay, so you need to follow each and every stage, because in some of the states the external reactant is being used. So their quantity that has been quantified, and if you do the whole material balance in each of the equipment, that will be should be balanced material quantity. Similarly, for the energy balance, there will be separate process flow sheet that will incorporate the energy equations, like how much heat is being supplied if that required in the chemical reactions, and how much heat is being extracted by any heat exchanger thing. So that kind of energy balance will be there in the process flow diagram. So this kind of process flow diagram is much complicated than the previous one like this, and most the simpler version is the block diagram. So that's all for this class for today. So, is there any question that you want to ask? Then you can ask.
No questions.
So, in the upcoming sessions for the next week, we will be discussing on the organic chemical technology, focusing on different industries. We will start one by one, and we will be discussing thoroughly the process descriptions and the reactions involved, the operations it requires for each and every uh, that we can differentiate at that point that how it is different for target, if the target raw material is different, if the target product is different, then how the whole lot of equipment and associated equipments will be different for each case. And we will be learning about lot of new chemical reactions in those industries particularly. So I will discuss one by one from the next live session. So thank you for today joining. If there is no question, then
Thank you, man.
yeah, thank you. Then
Thank you,
I
Andy. Today's session was really good. From the basics that you have explained everything is in a proper manner. So
yeah.
probably after my college, I mean after 20 years is a good learning experience for me.
Yeah,
Very useful to.
I just covered very basic information, basic learning that for the introduction of this chemical technology overall, and I'll be focusing very particular part as a part of this syllabus in the organic chemical technology from next class. and I didn't understand that my screen was not sharing at the first. So I'll be uploading this lecture in the YouTube session, YouTube class. So you can refer that video again to refer the slides that I have written and described some of the part that you missed. Sorry for the thing that I couldn't understand, that my screen was not sharing. So thank you for joining. We will meet in the next session.
Thank you, madam. For this, the reference book is a dry done one in outlines of chemical technology.
Yeah, you that is very good book for referring. You can refer that book. That is very useful for. Generally, we used to refer that book in the BTech classes. So it gives very basic knowledge from and very thorough knowledge in that book. So you can refer that book right now.
So,
Okay.
thank you very much for this.